Welcome back to Indianapolis, our continuing coverage of the 2025 Scouting Combine. Craig Grialou, Dani, Sureck, and Rhett Lewis from the NFL Network joining us right now. But before we dive into the Scouting Combine, and I got to give credit to our executive producer, Jim Alejandro, for finding this connection out. And then I went to your social media channel and saw it, and I'm going to go read it verbatim. Love this dude. Cardinals got a great one.
Let's go.
Please explain to everyone your connection to new Cardinals offensive line coach Justin Frye.
I'm so glad that's where you started because it probably didn't matter what you guys asked me first because I was going to talk about Justin first. He is one of my favorite humans. He was my teammate at Indiana from 2001 to 2005. He was our starting right tackle. I was a scrub receiver and all Big Ten placeholder. But it was, he and I have stayed in touch since we left IU. He got kind of right into coaching with one of our former coaches at IU, Steve Adazio. I've followed his path. He's been such a grinder throughout the industry and kind of working his way up. And we were together in Los Angeles for a brief minute when he was at UCLA, and I've been in LA with NFL Network for 10 years. And then he won a national championship last year, and so now getting to come into the league where I think he's going to be just an incredible teacher and developer of talent. Like, I can't imagine how excited Paris Johnson is to get his old coach back and to bring that to light. So Justin is an awesome dude. His wife is incredible. Their family is they're going to be great ambassadors for the Cardinals and for Arizona. You guys are going to love them.
What is it about his knowledge, personality that's going to make him a good coach?
Great
of the
question.
Cardinals?
He played the position, right? And he understands what he's asking of guys. And that happens at a lot of different places and a lot of different, coaching roles. But I think he truly, understands how to get the most out of players, understands how they fit. Like, think about the puzzle pieces that Ohio State had to put together this year in order to win a national championship up front. Like, they lose a first-round pick in Josh Simmons at left tackle. He slides Donovan Jackson over. Donovan Jackson becomes a really good left tackle after being a, all-conference guard. They lose their starting center right at the end of the season. He slides last year's starting center back in there, plays even better than he did the year before. He understands how to get the best five out there, which I think is really important as you're putting together, an offensive line each and every year. And, I think he's gonna understand, throughout the college game and, seeing so many trends that come from college now into the league. He's going to have a great fresh perspective for everybody. I think it's just an absolute home run.
The last 2 years we've seen the passion and fire that head coach Jonathan Gannon brings. It seems like Justin has that same passion.
Loves the game, Dani. I think it's a great point that you bring up, and I think we see that with Coach Gannon. You understand his passion and his dedication to the grind that it takes to be great. And I know that's what they're striving for, obviously, and that fits and aligns with Justin's philosophy. I'm so excited for him, and I just think he's going to be fantastic, and that whole group is really going to elevate.
Our first interaction with Justin, his press conference sounded a lot like JG, but
yeah,
more than that, any behind the scenes or something that we need to know about him that might surprise him, or anything that we could use for our advantage to maybe get in good with him?
And I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit. But obviously, this is he's from the state of Indiana, so he actually texted me as he was driving here today. I think he's just I think he's really, he's a Hoosier at heart. Obviously, has not been back at IU in an official capacity since he was playing. But something Indiana-centric, cream and crimson. Maybe if you can get him maybe you can find a way to get him like a pair of. Now we can change the color scheme from cream and crimson IU to whatever exactly the Cardinals red and white is, and give him some candy striped pants, like the way that the IU's basketball team, uses and is famous for. I think you might score some points that way. Yeah.
I'll let you handle the pants.
Yeah, okay.
When looking at the Cardinals, their offensive line was productive last season.
Sure.
7th best run game, blocked for a 1,000-yard rusher in James Conner. They kept their quarterback upright. What are your main takeaways from the Cardinals offense from last season, before the bye week and after the bye week, that they can carry over into this season and find ways to improve?
Yeah, look, I think it's, there's a couple of things. Obviously, James Conner has been just such a steady force for the last couple of years. And then you draft Trey Benson, in the second round. I think, there were some flashes there that you'd like to see a little bit more of. And I think how much more consistently involved can we get an elite player like Marvin Harrison? And obviously that's easier said than done. He's going to attract some attention, obviously. But I think that's why, I think that's where you'll see, the mettle of this coaching staff kind of come together is, all right, how do we give Kyler enough time to figure out a way to get more of that, top level elite stuff from Marvin, which we saw, at times in his rookie season. And then, it's about, continuing to cultivate one of the best young players in the league in Trey McBride and finding, different ways to utilize his skill set. We got to get him more touchdowns. We can figure that out. Sometimes it just doesn't come easier. But a great player like that won't be held down for too long. So, I think there's some things to be really excited about, there. And then, finding, consistency and staying healthy along the offensive line. Obviously, Kelvin Beachum as a free agent, has been a nice veteran piece that to kind of step in at times. And, you want to be able to roll in 6-7 different offensive linemen if you need to in a number of different positions. So, and this is a great draft for that. There's some really good offensive linemen in here that you're going to be able to find, even beyond day one. So.
On the flip side, defensively, I've heard enough of you, Daniel Jeremiah, and Bucky Brooks speak on Mondays on Move the Sticks podcast.
Ah, yes.
As far as, it's Kyler Murray, but defensively on how you affect the opposing quarterback. What do you see? Maybe it's in relation to upcoming free agency or the draft as far as how you get more consistent pressure along that front seven.
Well, look, I think this is where the Cardinals feel like they're in a pretty good spot at 16. When you look at potential needs, like another guy out on the edge, another guy in the interior, and continuing to get more to Darius Robinson from a year ago, this is a great draft for that, and it's a great spot to be in. Yeah, you may not get like the super high end, Mason Graham from Michigan or Jalen Walker from Georgia, or the other edge rusher from Georgia, but you could find a player like Kenneth Grant from Michigan who played next to Mason Graham. I think there's a great opportunity to build a bully up front and to start right there at 16. I think that would be a great opportunity to get another primetime type of player. I mean, you might even get a player like Mike Green, who led FBS in sacks from Marshall, with 17 this year. Donovan Ezeraku, probably a little bit early there for him, but he was right behind Mike Green, I think at 16 and a half sacks. There's just so much talent up front on the defensive line. And looking at the way the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and everybody's kind of been talking about this, keep stacking and keep swinging on those big men up front on both sides of the ball.
So interesting. Do you feel like that's been a little bit of change of philosophy because you've seen teams as of late maybe stack up and back-to-back early picks, as opposed to, okay, you see a lot of depth, defensive line and edge rusher, let's maybe tackle a different position because you feel good about the depth there?
That can you ever feel like you're satisfied though? Like, because that is ultimately what the Eagles did. Is like they were like, you know what? Yeah, we're good here. Let's continue to try to be great here. And that's how teams win at the highest level. Is they keep stacking at positions of strength, and especially when it's those marquee positions. You think about like Josh Sweat was a 4th round pick, Milton Williams a 3rd round pick, Jalen Hunt a 3rd round pick. They obviously had the 2 first rounders in the interior, and Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, and then obviously Nolan's. I mean, like, think of all those resources, right? Some of them were high level resources like 1st round picks. But you get a couple of late day 2 or early day 3 picks too that really hit, and this is a draft for that too. I mean, like, you're going to find potential starters, especially on the interior this year. Well into day 2, 3rd round, and into day 3 in the 4th round. So it doesn't necessarily have to be at 16, but I think it's a great place to start.
Within the NFC West, and who knows what's going to happen this offseason, because there's already a lot of conversation coming out of LA. They might be changing quarterbacks, they might not be, but where the Cardinals stand based off what you saw in 2024 and where they take that next step to, if not win the division, at least wild card, so you're in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought it was a legit possibility last year, and then it just wasn't able to kind of hold up on a consistent basis. But I think when you look at continuity, I mean, you got to feel really good about it. You've got you're stable at offensive coordinator and play caller. You're stable at quarterback in that relationship now for 2 years. Now going into year 3, you're continuing to add elite playmakers like we saw a year ago, both at wide receiver and at running back. And you've got one of the best tight ends. Like offensively, I feel really good on that front. Defensively, I think you look at Jonathan Gannon's DNA and what he was able to build in previous stops, and you're like, they're going to get there at some point. So I would feel really good about where I'm sitting in the landscape of the NFC West. Considering that there's some quarterback questions, not just in LA, but what's going on in Seattle with Geno Smith. Might there be an entertaining of another quarterback situation there, and then in San Francisco, they could easily be back to being one of the top end talents in the league, but. Right now, I'd feel really good about where I'm at, and it's ultra competitive, but it always is in that division. So I think it's a great opportunity to make some hay in that division and then showcase what you're made of, in the conference.
By the way, you mentioned at the start that you were a scrub wide receiver.
Yes, that's right.
I would tend to disagree.
Oh,
if you're on the team, you're on the team. But if Justin Frye was a starter, then I got to ask, how did he treat you?
Oh, No, I was technically I was 1 grade level older, so it was definitely a respect your elders type of situation. But Justin was awesome, man. He's just he is a super down to earth guy. He is a man of the people. He's a connector. He's an energy giver. There's so much to love about how he'll fit in, not only with the coaching staff, but with his room in the offensive line. And I mean, everybody on that team's gonna run across him at some point and gonna really enjoy being a part of it.
Well, it's good to hear that we've got someone in that offensive line room that the Cardinals can move forward with. Rhett, appreciate the time and enjoy
My
the
pleasure.
next coming days here in Indianapolis.
Thanks, guys.